Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I'm here with some Hero Arts products to create a really fun and bright, colorful card project for you. I'm going to be using this Prism Triangle background stamp along with this Stampin' Cuts Hello set. Now these Stampin' Cuts are available in a whole bunch of different sentiments, so I suggest that you check those out. But I love how there's the die and the stamp and then the mini coordinating sentiments that go with all this. So I'm going to be using that today. I'm starting out with this Memento Luxe ink pad in Lilac Posies. Now I didn't have a piece of cardstock this color and I really love this color, so I'm just creating my own colored cardstock by taking this ink pad directly to some Neenah Solar White cardstock. And once I get a good layer of that onto my cardstock, I can use my Hello die to cut that piece out, and then I'll have the perfect color of Orchid Hello sentiment cut out there. So I placed this onto my platform and I didn't want to transfer that ink onto my top cutting plate because I didn't want to have a big old mess to clean up. So I'm just taking a scratch piece of computer paper and laying that over the top before I put my top cutting plate on, and that's just going to protect my cutting plate from getting ink all over it. So I ran that through my die cut machine, and you can see that my die there has a little bit of ink on it, but I'm just going to use a baby wipe to clean that off. You want to make sure you clean off all that ink so that you don't transfer it on to your next project. So now I'm just taking my tweezers and poking out those little inner pieces of that die there. And because this is a pigment ink and it's still a little bit moist, I'm going to add some clear embossing powder over this and then heat set it to create a really nice glossy effect. Now I did find that as I went to heat set it, I didn't quite have enough tack left on the ink. It kind of had dried a little bit as I ran it through the die cut machine and all that. So I just re-inked it again with that Lilac Posies ink pad, added another layer of the clear embossing powder, and then heat set it again. And that gave me a really beautiful, shiny, wonderful sentiment to put onto the front of my card. I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to work on the card front here. This is just a piece of Neenah Solar White cardstock, and I'm just marking a little tick mark at the top and the bottom because I'm using this curved die from Pretty Pink Posh to create a curved edge on my card front. Now I wanted to make sure that I lined this up and got it right, so I created those tick marks in order to make sure that I had it perfectly placed on top and bottom and that it wasn't crooked. Then I secured it with a piece of Post-it tape and ran it through my die cut machine, and it creates this beautiful, perfect faux stitched edge onto the front of my card, and I just think it's super cool. So now I'm going to use this lime green ink from Hero Arts, and I'm going to ink up this Prism Triangle background stamp. Now I want my stamping to be on the right part of my card front, and here I had actually inked up the right part of my stamp, but I'm cleaning it off because I realized that I need to ink the left part of my stamp in order to get it onto the right part of my card front there. So just keep in mind that you're working in a mirror pattern here. So I'm just partially inking up the front of that background stamp, and then I'm taking a barely damp baby wipe and just kind of dabbing the edge of that to soften the edge. And then I'll take my card front and lay it directly onto my background stamp. And then I'll use a piece of scratch computer paper here. I think I printed out my printer settings or something on this. And I'm just rubbing that ink onto my card front there. And you can see I have a really cool partially inked background for my card front. Now it's just a fun way to use your background stamps in a different way. So now I'm going to finish off my sentiment. I have this little stamp here from that same Stampin' Cuts set there, and it says "You Make Me Smile," and I'm going to emboss this onto a piece of navy cardstock. So I prepped my cardstock there with a little EK Success powder tool, and I inked up my stamp in some Versamark ink, and I'm just stamping it onto the top portion of that navy cardstock. And then I'm going to use this really fun bright lime green embossing powder from Ranger, and this stuff looks really cool against the navy. So I'm just coating that little sentiment there, and then I'll heat set it. And I'm going to, once that's heat set and then I kind of let it cool for a second, I'm going to trim this down so I have this perfectly aligned little sentiment strip with that lime green on that navy. I just think that's a super cool color combination. So in order to attach this Hello die cut piece, because it's so small, rather than try to use some liquid adhesive or something, I decided to just staple it on there with my tiny attacher. I do have some gold staples in my tiny attacher, so those staples are gold, and I will link to a video here where I show you how I created those. And then I trimmed that down and added a piece of my favorite American Crafts gold glitter cardstock, once again just using my tiny attacher for that. And I must have had some real patience today because I added some foam adhesive to the back of that sentiment strip as well as that little tiny Hello die cut piece there. So now it's time to put on your sunglasses because this super bright cardstock that I love, it's called Juicy Parrots by Basil. I created a card base that's cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. And then I decided I needed to cut down this little curved edge piece, so I'm butting up the straight portion against the top of my trimmer in order to trim 1/8 of an inch off both the top and the bottom of that. Now, in order to pop this up onto my card base, I'm going to use some white fun foam, so I just kind of trace that little card front onto there and cut it a little bit smaller than my card front and added a piece of white fun foam behind this, and that will raise that whole panel onto the card base. And I just use a little Tombow Mono Extreme adhesive, the Tombow Extreme adhesive to attach my foam to my card front, to my card base, and also to my card front there. So I could go ahead and remove the backing to that foam adhesive and attach my sentiment there on the front of my card. And I thought it would be done, but I decided it needed a little bit more. So I created a little bit more of this clear embossed Lilac Posies cardstock here. And I just punched out some hearts from a Martha Stewart heart punch and also a EK Success heart punch. And I'm just adding a little bit of foam adhesive. And I kind of cut those out of some gold glitter cardstock as well and kind of mix those up. Now, I thought it would be done, but I thought it needed just a little more navy. So I am just using my little spatula here to kind of pull up that edge. And you see I have a piece of that navy cardstock cut with that pretty pink Posh border die. And I lifted the edge of that curve so that I could just add some tape runner adhesive and kind of wiggle this under there to add just a little bit more navy to the front of my card. And that completes my card project today. It was super fun. I love this color combination, that bright lime green and that purple orchid color with the navy and the gold. As always, I will have links to all the products used in this project in the description at YouTube, as well as over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com, where I'll have more information on the card project there. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fabulous day.